Should a group schedule time to serve others outside of the small group, and why?
Yeah. I absolutely think that a group that serves together is going to grow together. And so I know at National Community Church where I serve, our groups kind of have three things that we want all of our groups to do three things. We want them to grow together, to learn together, and to serve together. And I think that serve piece is important for three different reasons. One, I think we have to remember why we do community. The reason we do community is because there's something about the way that we relate to one another that is tied back to the image of God. We were created by community. Father, Son, Holy Spirit, Trinity creates mankind, breathes life into them, and as we come together in community with one another, we reflect something of God's nature and God's character. And in fact, John 13:35 sums it up really well. It says, your love for one another will prove to the world that you are my disciples, that when we live and walk in community with one another, we're actually showing the world Jesus. And so if we just keep the Jesus that we're displaying inside the roof and around the coffee table, then we're missing out on a really, really awesome kingdom advantage of being out in the community together, showing Jesus to the world. But something that, and that's kind of a higher level, kind of theological, philosophical reason, but I think there's also two very practical reasons that it's good for small groups to serve with one another. One, I think a group that is serving outside of themselves is actually much healthier. There's a reason that the Dead Sea is dead, and that's because there is no outflow. There's no outlet. There's nothing flowing out of the Dead Sea, and so it just takes in and it takes in and it takes in, and so it's dead because there's no room for anything to flow out of that. And I think the same thing happens in our small groups. We've got to find ways that we're giving out, that we're flowing out, that the life of God and the character of God that's being formed within the group environment is actually finding a way to find expression beyond the group experience. And so I think a serving group is a healthy group. I also think that serving together causes us to grow together in unique ways. I think there's a kind of community that happens when you're face-to-face with one another, when you're sitting across a table from another person and you're sharing and you're encouraging and you're learning together. That's one kind of community and that's one kind of discipleship. But I think there's another way that we grow together when we're not facing one another, but we're turned shoulder to shoulder and we're facing the same mission. We're facing the same target, the same goal, and we're going after that with one another. There's just a level of community that you experience when you're doing that. There's a level of growth that happens not when you're facing one another, but when you're facing a common purpose. And so I think groups should serve together, one, because it shows Jesus to the world, and I think it gives our group an awesome opportunity to be an extension of evangelism for the kingdom. I think groups should serve together because they're healthier that way, and I think groups should serve together because they're going to experience deeper community when they do. And I also think that we've got to help our groups move from seeing service not just as a project that we schedule on the calendar, but a way of life that we live. Like, as a group, how can we bless the neighborhood that we're in? As a group, how can we be a blessing to the marketplace environment that we're in? Maybe it's even finding ways to serve one another in the group, but in ways that are very public and are seen by those around them, so that when they look at our group, people from the outside can say, yeah, they must be disciples because of their love for one another. So I think serving groups are growing groups.